Hello, I'm Ciera Payton and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a space where I share all about my experience of being an actress, an entrepreneur, and an educator in hopes to maybe entertain you or help you along your creative journey. So let's get right to it. In my first video, I had shared about how this would be an 8-part video series, kind of highlighting my journey into the film and TV industry. I talked about how I got bit by the acting bug, and in my previous video, I talked about education, and now I want to talk about experience. So after or while you're getting all that training and education, you get experience. And so for me, when I was in high school going to New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, we would put on plays for the public. And that was so crucial and critical in getting the experience of learning how to act. You know, it's something so terrifying and exhilarating at the same time when you can get on stage and perform for a whole bunch of, strangers outside of your family. And it's incredible because you get to learn a lot about how to be present and a lot about how to use your voice and how to speak and how to be comfortable with being vulnerable in front of a live audience. And it is incredible. And so, I would say if you are in high school or if you're in college or if you're thinking about, being an actor, go out there, start getting the experience of what it's like to be on stage, what it's like to perform in front of a whole bunch of people. That's how I started with doing theater. And so while I was at New Orleans Center for Creative Arts, I would do plays throughout the school year. And then throughout the summer, I would do summer theater with the New Orleans Recreational Department, which we called NORD. And it was incredible because we would do these musicals at the Ty Tracy Theater, which I think now is called Gallier Hall in New Orleans. But we did so many amazing, fun plays. And that's where I got to really start to explore, singing and dancing and kind of starting to sharpen those tools a little bit. And we would do these incredible musicals, called Babes in Arms, The Wiz, Grease, all of those types of plays. But it was so crucial to, my training and learning how to act because, when you are working towards the goal of performing, you really start to put, the muscle to use. You've been strengthening this muscle, learning how to, use your voice, learning how to be emotionally vulnerable, learning how to, speak and breathe and stand, as a character. And you're doing that constantly in rehearsals, and then performance time comes and you just have this huge sense of accomplishment. That's how I started to get my experience. Then when I ended up going to the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, that training continued and that experience continued. They had a rule when I was there at School of the Arts, for the first 2 years, you're kind of like in this incubation period. So you're not really, getting the experience of being on stage because they didn't want us to practice any bad habits, So your first 2 years is just really learning, all the craft and learning all these, really important tools. And then when you get into your junior year, that's when you start performing on stage. But for me, it was a little bit different for me, a little backwards for me. After Hurricane Katrina, which I've written about my experience on my blog, The In Tribe, you could go check that out. My family and I, we experienced Hurricane Katrina. And after that, I was just in a really, challenging and difficult time because, we had lost our home. My grandmother had passed away during it. And I was a sophomore in college and I was just kind of not sure if acting was the right path for me because I wanted to do something more meaningful. I wanted to do something where I felt I could contribute more to the world. And so I had contemplated a lot about leaving college during that time. And so around the beginning of 2006, I had explored leaving college. I wanted to explore being a pediatrician or, possibly being a nurse or just something where I felt like I was contributing to the world because I saw, just what was happening back at home and what I had experienced through Hurricane Katrina. So I ended up going home to New Orleans for a few weeks to just try to figure out what I wanted to do with my pursuit in acting or continuing in college or, going into the medical field. And while I was there, I ended up getting this call from an agent who used to come into a restaurant that I worked at. She had asked me to go and audition for a Steven Seagal movie. And I just thought it was the most bizarre thing because I had been really thinking about stepping away, and to get a random call like this was just so different. And I actually avoided it because, again, I was just in a really, challenging place. And she was like, Ciera, please, 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 please go to this audition. And so I went, and very, very long story short, which I will talk about in another video about my first acting job, I ended up booking this movie called Flight of Fury. Yes, you can look it up. Yes, there's some, sensational moments in it, but it was my first acting role. And when I tell you, talking about, education, training, and then putting it all to practice with experience, that was a roller coaster for me to just kind of learn and put everything that I've been, practicing to screen. My first day on set was the fight scene, and I had to quickly, really be like, okay, well, I've been taking these stage combat classes and firearm classes at School of the Arts. Okay, I know how to fight, I know how to do this. But it was so different because one of the big things that I didn't know about filmmaking was that it all shoots out of sync. You don't start from page one, on your first day, you're shooting page one and then page two and then page three. You shoot to location sometimes, you shoot to, scheduling and availability, you shoot to, whatever the producer and director's discretion is. So yeah, I didn't know anything about filmmaking at that time. I was very theater oriented. I didn't know how to stand on a mark. I didn't know really where to look at, in terms of where the camera was, or really how to interact with my, fellow actors on set, because I was such a ball of nerves. But, it ended up working for me, I feel like, because my character was so stealth and very quiet and very observant. And so I think naturally I was just bringing that to screen because I wanted to learn as much as I can so I could be better in my next project. But I just think it was such a crazy blessing in disguise because, I went from questioning if I wanted to do this or not to being thrust into, you're doing it and you're learning it, and now you're experiencing in real time how to be it. And so after that, I decided to just go back to college and continue out my years in school, which, there's been a lot of discussion about that and amongst my peers and stuff, whether if I should have gone back to school or, go to Los Angeles and New York after that, which I'll talk about in another video as well. But yeah, I wanted to continue learning the craft, and I wanted to be better at it and perfect it, because if anything that I felt that I learned from that experience of doing that movie was that I knew I was ready to go into the business, but I didn't feel that I was the best or my best at that time. So I was like, I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna really, really learn how to be, the best actor I can be. That experience though really helped to shift the programs at North Carolina School of the Arts. I went back to school and I told them, I was like, look, I just did this movie, for 6-7 weeks, and there were just a lot of things that I didn't know because we hadn't been taught that here, and there's no programs in place yet to really teach actors how to act for film. And I was like, I really think that this is something that we should explore. And so while I was there, we got Caroline Cava. She was a new teacher on staff there, and she had a lot of experience working in film. So she started to create a class where we were learning how to act on film. And then we started collaborating with the film students at school, where we would do just kind of like these practice scenes, in front of camera. And then we started doing audition scenes in front of camera. So this is what I'm talking about, like taking your training, taking what you're learning and just putting it to practice, putting it into real time, getting in front of the camera, getting on stage, just getting the experience over and over and over again of getting that in your body, of what it's like to perform, what it's like to be an actor. My neighbor's dog is barking. But so that is one of the keys in really, going on your creative journey, not only just as an actor, but I just think in general, anything that you're learning to do, you got to get experience in it. And that's just going to strengthen you and make you better and make you stronger. And so that's how I got my experience. I started out, doing plays in school, doing plays during the summer, going to college, learning as much as I can, and then, getting the opportunity to do an action film. and just kind of being thrown and free falling in that experience and being like, wow, okay, I have a lot more to learn. And then, you know, taking that experience and sharing it with my classmates and fellow actors. You know, none of them had done a movie at that time or, you know, knew what it was like to be on camera. And so I wanted to give that experience to them and help them, and also just learn more for myself, because I knew that I wanted to continue on this journey of acting. And so there you go, my little third video about my personal experience and what it means to get experience in acting. So if you guys have any questions, any comments or anything, please leave them below. I would love to be able to answer them and do more videos to help you. All right, so I will see you at the next video. All right, take care. Bye.